Hey guys, it's Will from Tested.
I'm Norm from Tested.
Norm.
We have Apple's new iPod Touch in-house today. It's the first update to the iPod Touch in 2 years.
Yeah, so the last one was based on the iPhone 4. There was no 4S version of the iPod Touch. And this is new. There's a couple of things I really like about this, just looking at it for the barest of seconds. You spent a lot of time with it, but it actually has a good screen this time around. Last time they updated it with the Retina display, and the screen was, I don't want to say underwhelming, because the resolution was nice.
It was the same resolution.
Same resolution, but kind of a crappy color. The color representation was
just a different
bad.
panel with terrible viewing angles, and the colors were
bad
washed
dithering.
out.
Yeah.
And also the camera sucked.
The camera was bad.
2 years later, they finally updated the iPod Touch. They didn't update it last year with the iPhone 4S, but with the release of the iPhone 5, they've updated the iPod Touch to basically have very similar specs as the iPhone 5.
Right.
So while the iPhone 5 has a new 4-inch screen, this actually has the exact same 1136 by 640 screen.
And as near as we can tell, it's exactly the same panel.
Exactly the same.
Color representation is the same, resolution is the same.
Brightness, all how dark the blacks get, all exactly the same. The big difference, though, in terms of using it indoor and outdoor, is that there's no illumination sensor, no daylight sensor on the front of the phone.
So it doesn't automatically increase brightness when you go outside.
Yeah. So, for example, with the iPhone 5, if I walk outside, if I set it to medium brightness normally, you go outside, it's bright outside, it amps up the brightness so you can actually see the display. And at night, theoretically lowers the brightness to your minimum so you can use it. Here, it just stays at whatever brightness you set it at.
So there's no automatic brightness.
No automatic brightness, which can affect battery life.
But typically, the iPod Touch battery life is dramatically better than the iPhone battery life, at least in my testing in the past.
That's because there's no cellular antenna in here. There's no radio.
Wi-Fi and Bluetooth only, which makes a big difference on battery life.
So technically, it's a smaller battery than what's in the iPhone 5. There's only about a 1,030 milliamp hour battery on here, which allows us to be relatively thin. It's still mostly battery. If you take this apart, you get the screen, you have the logic board, but it's mostly battery. But it's actually really thin. It's 6.1 millimeters thick, which I have calculated is exact thickness. If you want to compare this to home, because you don't want to walk over to an Apple store and just see how thick it is in your hands, it is 21 bicycle playing cards thick.
Are those coated paper?
These are coated, brand new bicycle playing cards. Plastic coating, air cushion.
Poker size or bridge size?
These are bridge size. These are.
I think those are poker cards.
Maybe they're poker size. America's favorite playing cards, 21 thick. That's how thick this is. That's really, really thin. I would dare call this thin.
I think it's thin. It doesn't have the same kind of. The last one had a very hard beveled edge.
Really shiny back.
Very shiny back. It scratched really easily.
Yeah.
This has anodized aluminum, which is new.
It's more of a gentle curve. And it's not as sharp. Yeah, more volume on here. You still have the chamfers like you have on the iPhone 5. It's aluminum, so it will eventually get scratched. I've already have a little bit of a scratch on the side.
Just from carrying it in your pocket, or have you been slinging it around?
You can actually sling it around, which I'll demonstrate later. But just in carrying it in your pocket, the edges will get very, very slightly scratched. So very thin and also very light.
So what else has changed? Same CPU as the iPhone 5?
It's not the same CPU as iPhone 5. It's the same CPU as iPhone 4S. It's the A5. So it's a dual core. It's the A5.
Just A5. Okay.
A5X was for the iPad 3.
That's right.
This is same as the 4S. A little confusing. So you're not going to get exactly the same speeds in terms of all your apps as you would get with the iPhone 5. For example, if you run something like iPhoto, you'll get the almost exact same performance as what you would get with the iPhone 4S, which I have in one of my pockets.
Too many pockets for Chan.
Too many items. Same performance as the iPhone 4S, but in terms of running games and web browsing, it is almost, you can't notice difference.
Okay, so what else has changed? Let's run down the list of other changes real fast. The camera's improved. Yeah. It's still not the same camera as the iPhone 5.
Yeah, it's the same camera actually as the iPhone 4, a 5 megapixel camera. So it's the screen of the iPhone 5, the processor of the iPhone 4S, the camera of the iPhone 4. On the back, 5 megapixel camera. It's hodgepodge
cripplingly confusing
of technologies. 720p FaceTime HD camera on the front.
Okay, so it's the same as on the new MacBook Airs, Retina MacBook, and the.
It's about a 1 megapixel camera.
iPhone 5,
and record video. But the back is a 5 megapixel camera. It still doesn't perform that well in low light compared to the iPhone 5. But almost indistinguishable from an iPhone 4.
Okay.
But I did want to mention how light this is, because we talked about the iPhone 5 being really light when you picked it up. Like compared to the 4S and the 4, this feels like the battery is out. There was no battery.
Yes.
Here. This feels like the battery is out and then some.
So the iPod Touch is typically, like the first time I handled an iPod Touch, I thought oh my God, this is just the screen. There's nothing else on this. It's very small when you're used to a phone. This carries that over. I still don't think it feels as light as previous iPod Touches.
It's almost exactly the same weight as the previous iPod Touch. Very, very slightly lighter, maybe half a gram lighter.
Interesting.
88 grams, which again,
how much is 88 grams, Norm? I speak American.
If you want to evaluate the weight without having to pick up an iPod Touch.
Okay.
It is almost exactly the same weight as a new tin of Altoids. Peppermint Altoids, this is 86 grams, about 2 gram difference.
I noticed that you took the cellophane off of the Altoids.
Yeah, with the cellophane, it's almost exactly the same. So
Interesting.
grab yourself a pack of Altoids. That's how light
So it's
the new
as
iPod
thick
Touch is.
as 21 playing cards, bicycle, poker, coated paper.
Yes.
And as heavy as a pack of Altoids.
Yes, with the screen of the
really
iPhone
weird.
5, the processor of the iPhone 4S, and the camera of the iPhone 4.
Wow.
Yeah, so even though it's a processor of the iPhone 4S, it actually has more screen. So one of the things I was worried about was, well, games that run full screen, because you actually have about 18% more pixels.
Yeah.
So games that run full screen like Temple Run or even New Carmageddon, almost exactly the same. You're not going to notice any difference. And some of the high-intensity games like Walking Dead or Infinity Blade are actually still cropped. So they don't render all the pixels. So performance
is that because they haven't been updated yet, or because
it's been a couple weeks?
Okay.
I don't know if they're ever going to update those.
Okay.
So it's still cropped. Those run just fine. You're not going to notice any performance difference.
So there's some other things that, well, first off, I noticed there's no silent mode switch.
Yeah, that's something that's only on the iPhones.
Okay.
I kind of wish there was one, because I don't like hearing the keyboard tap. For example, if I open a window.
You can just turn keyboard tap sounds off in settings.
You do hear it. I wish I would only hear sound when I plugged in the headphone jack, which is on the bottom. It also
it's always been on the bottom.
It's on the bottom.
Touch.
Has the lightning connector.
The 8-pin iPhone connector, you mean?
Yes, the 8-pin, new 8-pin USB connector.
Yes.
And the speakers, not as loud as iPhone 5, but you can still put on your desk and listen to music. They're not great. And then one new thing in the back is that there's this new little metal circular disc.
What's this brown patch on the top?
That's just for radio. So that's for your Wi-Fi. That's for your Bluetooth.
Okay.
Because it can't transfer through the aluminum, it needs to be plastic.
It needs a place where that's EM.
I don't think it's ugly. I think it's fine. I actually really like the colors. It now comes in colors, as you can tell.
I think the colors are cool. I wish the phones came in colors.
Yeah, it's blue, red, pink, slate, and black.
Do those colors have fancy names, Norm?
I think it's product red is the only one that's fancy name. Slate black, silver white.
Silver white is the same anodized, I assume, as the white iPhone. Slate black is the same as the black iPhone.
I really like this blue color. I did want to talk about this little thing on the bottom.
It looks like a button. Can I press it?
You can absolutely press it. So if you press it down, it pops up.
That's satisfying.
And it comes with a matching little lanyard.
Oh, wow.
Or you can put your own little cell phone charm, even though it's not a cell phone. And you can slot this in. And actually, I ran with this. I normally hate holding anything big. Like, I can't run with my iPhone. I can't run with the iPod Touch. But because I had this grip, you know, you're running, you can drop it, and you can actually...
Like if it flies from your hand.
It will not fall to the ground. If you, I mean, I won't say it would never.
It's as safe as a Wiimote.
It's pretty much as safe as a Wiimote. I could actually...
Are you going to wing this around?
Fling this around.
Good God, man.
And that's not going to fly anywhere.
That seems pretty safe to me.
Problem. And because it's so light, I mean, I could drop this on the floor. I mean, we're on carpet right now, but...
Right. Oh, God, don't drop things.
It's just fine.
The other thing that's important to note is, unlike the phone designs, the previous iPhone especially, like the places it's likely to fall are almost all metal on this.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
exactly.
like it has to fall just right to actually land on the glass corner.
Right, and there's no glass at all on the back.
Right.
And because it's so light, it's not as much weight impacting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't drop this on concrete, of course. Use your lanyard if you're going running. But
it has Nike Plus and all that stuff built in, just like the iPhone, right?
Yeah, but there's no GPS.
Okay.
So it's only assisted GPS. You can't track as you're running outside your routes.
So it's a fancy pedometer, and then I think you can go into the app and put your route in if you want to, but who's really going to do that?
So I think it's an incredible improvement over the previous iPod Touch, which had the crappier screen and the crappy camera, and wasn't the 4 inches and wasn't as thin, but it only comes in 32 gigs or 64 gigs.
So does that mean it's more expensive than the previous generation?
For the starting price.
So they used to start at $200?
They used to start, I think, at $250 for the 16 gig.
Okay.
Now it only starts at 32 gigs for $300. The only way you can buy an iPod Touch now is at $300.
Well, the 5, they still are selling the 4th generation.
They are still selling, the only way you get the new one is for $300
wow.
or $400 for 64 gigs. A lot of people, 64 gigs isn't even enough for all their music since you have to have space for the apps and also the OS. I don't think Apple is really selling these as music playing devices.
They do come, an app platform, right?
Yeah, they do come with the new EarPods without the microphone. direct sound
Did you use
into
them
your
yet?
ear.
Do you like them?
No, I don't like them.
Yeah, they're not very good, right?
Yeah, they're not. They're just like generic earbuds.
They're better than the old ones, but
Spend some money, get some earphones. They still won't play, FLAC on iTunes.
Right.
So you have all those limitations. It really is to play games for kids.
it's for apps.
It's for apps.
Yeah, and video, I guess.
The reason I can't recommend this wholeheartedly right now is because they're potentially, for $250, you might be able to buy something like an iPad mini a month later this holiday season.
Something's looming, you're
So I'd
saying.
say, they've already made the announcement for the event. So wait until Apple makes an announcement before you decide how to spend the $250 or $300.
That rumor, that event could be for classic iPod updates. I mean, they're long overdue for that, or it could be for Mac Pros. It may not be a mini iPad. Who knows?
So I do want to talk about battery life. Battery life is good. Apple says 40 hours for music. I didn't get a chance to listen 40 hours nonstop, but between a mix of playing video on here, a movie downloaded, something on Netflix, web browsing, I got about a day and a half, a day and a quarter.
It's typically a charge every other day device.
Yeah.
And
if heavy use, charge one day.
Right.
You will get a full day of use if you are on the internet at the office all day.
So if you don't have a smartphone or a tablet, would you buy this, or would you buy a Nexus 7, or would you buy an iPad?
Nexus 7 is only $200.
It is a lot cheaper.
Yes, and
but
I
I
think-
mean, you're talking about, you're going to get the 16 gig one, not the 8 gig
Right,
one,
I think
probably.
that's, if you're looking to get into the Apple ecosystem and you want all those 250,000 apps, then you wait until Apple makes some type of iPad mini announcement.
Hold off.
And then make a decision whether you want to spend, how you spend $300. If you are looking for something that you can run with and run apps, and maybe you want to carry, a lot of people do carry an iPod Touch for the apps, and then a dumb phone, a feature phone.
Yeah, you don't want a data plan.
Right. This is actually, I cannot recommend this enough because it is such a big improvement over the old iPod Touch.
Yeah,
don't get the old iPod Touch.
All of the problems, I mean, the reason we didn't like the old iPod Touch, just to reiterate, the screen was bad, the camera was bad. Those are two of the things that I use my phone for more than anything else, and it sucked to kind of have to make those kind of big compromises on a product that could potentially be a phone replacement.
And it really is amazing how thin like this is. Let's reiterate, it is the weight of a new tin of Altoids, the thickness of 21 bicycle playing cards, the screen of the iPhone 5, the processor of an iPhone 4S, and the camera of the iPhone 4. That's the new iPod Touch, $300.
Frankenstein.
On sale now.
See you guys later. I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
Bye.
Bye.